What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Kick and Make Up. I'm your host, the American Hybrid. With me, as always, Jeremy J.D. Dorsey, and it is fight week.
Yes.
Are you ready, man?
Oh my God, I'm so ready. It seems like it was quick, but it was also long. Like the last 2 weeks, like everything sort of slowed down a little bit as far as cage aggression is concerned. But
yes.
I'm definitely ready for fight week, man.
And that's what we're talking about. Cage Aggression 14 All or Nothing coming up this Friday, October 10th at the RiverCenter. We're going to get a little bit into that later. This is episode 20. I mean, technically, I feel like this is it's episode 50, but
right.
Technically this is episode 20 without all the extras we do. Yeah. It just shows that we do a lot of extra stuff. It's October 6th, so like I said, it's fight week. It was fight weekend for the UFC with a doubleheader on Saturday. We've got a lot to talk about today, so we're going to get the particulars out of the way. This is the Kick and Make Up show. kickandmakeup.com is where you can go and see all of our archive shows, any articles I've written for Ola America, pictures, just anything we just throw up on there. I love that site. We go to it. We're trying to keep it looking good these days. Definitely. We have a Facebook page, which you go and search Kick and Make Up, add yourself into the group, and a request to be added in, and we'll get you right in. We do polls, we do votes. We try to keep you guys up with everything going on. I know I uploaded something. It was like 2 a.m. the other night. Some Conor McGregor issue was going on, and I got it right up. And so that's what happens when you go to the Kick and Make Up page. You get all the latest and greatest. Also, Twitter at Kick and Make Up is JD's, and the show at Hybrid MMA is mine. So yeah, I think we're.
Don't forget our new and improved YouTube page. You can check that out. Go to youtube.com and search for Kick and Make Up. You'll find us. I believe it's youtube.com/Kick and Make Up, and you'll be able to find us. So all our shows will be on there from here on out. No more Ustream crap, but yeah, everything is on there. So check that out and subscribe so that you can get everything that we put out as soon as it's released.
And you also got us up on Instagram too.
Yes, Instagram. Got an Instagram video we sent out today. A picture because we're live from my man cave today. Yeah, it's a little different from our normal surroundings, but it is cool to kind of just roll out of bed. See, I roll out of bed looking like this, man.
Yeah, me too. This is like I woke up like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. Why were you sleeping in my house?
What's that?
Why were you sleeping in my house?
I don't have anything now. I said something witty. I was sleeping in my car. We had to make it any better.
You got good hair for sleeping in your car.
Yeah, right. It's a good car.
It's a rental. I like that too. That's kind of different.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying the swoop over. Yeah. That's just long right now.
If you put like the little hair down, like you could get the Superman too. If you...
Maybe. It's Halloween's coming up, so.
There you go.
Who knows? We'll see. All right. I love how we just go off this way, and I'm going to bring us right back into, like we said, fight week, cage aggression. Before that, like I said, there was a doubleheader this weekend for the UFC. They're doing that a lot more lately, getting the double shows, 2 shows, one on Fight Pass, usually one on Fox Sports 1. It's a lot of MMA. It was a lot to keep up with. There was not a whole lot going on with the cards, but we'll just talk about the main events a little bit. UFC on Fight Night on Fat Pass.
Fat Pass.
On Fight Pass.
That's different. That's the other one.
Gunnar Nelson versus Rick Story was the main event. That's a welterweight fight. Story did get the unanimous decision. He won in 5 rounds. Man, Gunnar Nelson was one of those guys that he's gotten a lot of steam lately, and I didn't really follow him too much before. I had seen some of his fights. Rick Story, we all know, trained with GSP, was a lot of steam around him too about 2 years ago. Supposed to do a whole lot, just kind of went up and down his career. Did get the win over Nelson. It was a great back and forth 5-round fight. Nelson's got an amazing chin on him. Story landed some huge shots, and he's one of those scary fighters too. Like when he hits you, he throws everything into it. And for Gunnar to take that for 5 rounds was pretty fun to watch. So now we'll see what happens with Story. I believe he broke the top 10 in his division because of this win. Don't quote me on that, but if he's not 10, he's very close. So he's trying to get himself back into contention. And so that was the big thing from Fight Pass.
Right, and I know that story's been building some momentum. I know we talked about him a few times, and he was sort of off my radar for a while because he had kind of disappeared. But now that he's back, he's really making a statement in the division.
Right, and he's got wrestling, he's got lunch boxes for hands too. So it's going to be fun to watch him get back in there and see what's going on. GSP's not in the mix really anymore. Supposedly he's coming back, so there's a good time right now to come into the welterweights. Also, the main event for UFC on Fight Night on Fox Sports 1, or UFC Fight Night on Fox Sports 1, main event, Tarec Saffeidine versus Rory McDonald. First of all, that's an awesome fight. Not a lot of people know about Tarec Saffeidine. Came from Strikeforce, huge kickboxer, just one of the guys that I've been waiting to kind of see get bigger and blow up. He was one of the first ones that had the question mark kick where you bring it up and then switch it at the top. So I've been excited to see him do some things. Unfortunately for him, he did not get the win this weekend over Rory McDonald. That was a big meal on his plate with Rory McDonald. McDonald knocked out Saffeidine in the third round. Now he will most likely get the winner of Lawler and Hendricks in December, so that fight will probably go on in March of next year. I don't know. What do you want to say about him getting... He already fought Lawler and lost, so him and Hendricks?
I was going to say this, it really doesn't do anything for me. I won't say I used to be. I'm still a pretty good, Rory McDonald fan, but I think I've been kind of let down by him over his past few fights when he had legitimate opportunities to show that he was up there with the best of the best. He kind of didn't show up. And it wasn't like he just, sort of barely lost. He didn't really lose in spectacular fashion, but he just didn't show anything.
Right.
He didn't look his normal aggressive self. And I noticed when he gets his wins, he comes out ultra aggressive, and it's like he has to get a few things going early on, and then he's able to roll through the rest of the fight. So I don't really find myself very excited to see him take on the winner of Lawler and Hendricks.
Yeah,
and
myself either.
I just kind of feel like that would be a rehash. If he can't handle Lawler,
that's what I said.
He's not going to be able to handle Hendricks either.
No, I think Hendricks is going to be way too much for him, too strong. Just going to ragdoll. I can see him ragdolling him around, landing a lot of shots on him, and Rory doesn't tend to take very well to that. The wrestling is going to be there for Hendricks too. I've not seen a whole lot of stuff from Rory on the ground. And also I don't really want to see Rory as the champion. He doesn't seem, even in some of his lead-ups to his fights, they've got him shopping and hanging out. There's not a lot of star power, I don't think, there.
Right.
So not to take away from his fighting skills, that those are there, but overall.
But even then, those fighting skills are sort of lacking.
They are.
There's I think if he was a better fighter, you would be able to look past some of the things that he does. But since he's not that type of a fighter, you kind of look at everything. You start looking at the whole package as opposed to just his fighting skills. So I'm a fan, but he's kind of sort of a fading star, I think, at this point. And especially for somebody to be so young, and MMA is his thing. That was, he came up doing that. He was built to do this, what he's doing right now, and it's working out to him to some extent. But when the brightest lights are shining on him, it doesn't work for him.
Right. So we'll see what happens. We got a long time before March, when this is supposed to go down. Anything can happen between now and then. So we will see and keep you guys up to date with everything going on. Like I said, not much else went on with these cards. I know a fan of ours, we're a fan of Darren Cruikshank, and he got another win. So he's coming off of a loss, but he was on a tear too, and is just improving every time he got a win. So I know that they're wanting to throw him in the mix of some bigger fights now too. But other than that, it was kind of I felt like it was kind of a slower 2 cards. I think they're getting ready for some bigger cards through the end of the year, and just that's the thing with Fight Pass and all the oversaturation right now. There's just a lot of fights to where there maybe is 1 or 2 good fights on the card, and you can kind of fast forward and do what you need to do. And so, yeah, that's the results of the weekend, and we're going to get right into the high kick for this week. The kick and makeup high kick goes to a lot of things. We're going to talk about UFC 178 still. That was such an incredible card. We're about a week past it now, but there is still so many things happening because of UFC 178 that it's still fresh to talk about now. We're going to get into Cat Zingano first, beating Amanda Nunes after a 15-month layoff. Yes. After all the stuff that she went through with her husband and everything that, the passing and suicide of her husband, that's tremendous to have on your back and brain and heart, and for her to come out and be losing in the first 2 rounds, but pretty much, and then just to come back and dominate in the third was awesome to see. Everybody wants to see Cat Zingano, Ronda Rousey. The UFC made the announcement that they are going to do that fight, I believe, January, right? I think so. I think it's going to be the Super Bowl card maybe, or early January, Cat Zingano versus Ronda Rousey. That's awesome because everybody's kind of Rousey'd out right now. You know she's going to win. There's not much new competition except for Cat Zingano, who was supposed to get her originally. So it all works out, and I'm really excited to see that fight.
It's one of those fights that, as a fan, you have so many storylines. Like there's the everything with Zingano, everything with Rousey. You have the undefeated, pretty much unchallenged Rousey taking on someone who was supposed to get their shot months ago, got injured, came back from an injury, had her, her significant other commit suicide. Like, she has kids. Like, there's just so many different things. And for somebody, I kind of forgot all of that. Like, because Kat sort of, while she was rehabbing, you don't really hear a whole lot.
No,
you don't learn that, everything that's going on with that person. But to see her come out and then to show so much heart in that fight, because she got rushed at the beginning of that fight, and it was looking pretty dicey early on, and I was kind of thrown aback because usually she's more of the aggressor, and she was aggressive at the very, very beginning of the fight, but then started getting a little overwhelmed and almost got taken out a few times, took a ton of hard shots while she was on her back. But she was able to fight through it, and then to pull out the win in impressive fashion like she did, that just showed me, so much about her as a person and her character that, how can you not root for her?
Right.
And, I know that Dana White has to be sitting back right now saying, oh, this is going to make him so much money. Because, they're going to sell the mess out of this fight, and it's going to... the fight's gonna sell itself, and then they're gonna both do their thing, and it's gonna add to the drama.
And it adds longevity once again to the women's bantamweight division, because those two will fight, and then Miesha Tate just won in Japan, so she might get the winner or the loser of that fight. Which, if a third crack at rubber match for Rousey, or a rematch with Zingano. So Miesha Tate's still in the mix with Kat being back with things they can play off of. So that win was big for Kat, was big for the division, UFC. Huge. It was just, and it's for the fans too. It's something we want to see. So awesome way to kick off the night. We'll go right into to Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor,
his boy.
That's my boy, Conor McGregor.
His boy.
Watching,
he's winning me over too, though. I'll give him that.
And they better be careful with him. Right now, they're doing a little bit too much with him, and I can say that now. And I knew that before, but I was just waiting to see what they did. So he beats Dustin Poirier, and he's now ranked number 5 in the featherweight division, potentially taking on the winner of Aldo Mendez. They're flying him out to Brazil to watch that fight. They're giving him like the royal treatment. Dustin Poirier, Dustin Poirier was a shocking win to see that quickly. I didn't know which way it was going to go, honestly. I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan, but I'm a huge Poirier fan too. So it could have went either way, honestly. And that back of the ear shot.
Yeah,
you go home and you can't be 100% amped that you just put it on the dude, because you didn't. You hit him in the spot that everybody goes down.
Yeah.
Not to say that he wasn't doing awesome before that, because Conor was doing all kinds of crazy stuff before that, landing stuff, and capitalized on it. But for me, it doesn't. I mean, if that fight would have went on a little bit more, I would like to have seen what was gonna happen. But he's a crazy dude. He's like an Anderson Silva fighter too.
Yeah.
He's long and just it's crazy.
Yeah, long, unafraid. Just gonna keep marching forward, and that's the thing that I think will get him inevitably, is that somebody's gonna use that aggressiveness against him, and I don't know how he fares very well on the ground, and we don't know.
That was what we were gonna get answered with this fight, because Poirier is much better on the ground, only because we really haven't seen McGregor on the ground. So that's we were really curious, everybody, to see, and we didn't get to see it still. So that's in the back of people's mind, like what happens when the fight hits the ground.
Right.
But it didn't, and it was done in a minute.
Right.
And looking at the fight with Mendez or Aldo, I mean, he's so much taller and longer that may be what wins. I can't see them just getting in on him and being able to do much.
Right. I can, if there was a strategy that they could take, I would have to say it would have to be, sort of, like I said, using that aggressiveness against him, countering, and getting in that way, because like you said, his length is so strong, and it's not like he's, you have some fighters who are tall, have long arms, long legs, but they don't really fight like that. Right. He uses each and every inch. Like, he does a ton of kicks. Yeah. He's not afraid to sort of flail his arms either and get going. So it's going to be fun to see who's able to use their skills in that sort of a matchup. Right. And I don't want to believe that McGregor is real. I think that's my thing. And that's kind of wrong, but I don't even really know why. I don't know why. Like, I want to be a fan, I want to support him, but there's something there that sort of rubs me the wrong way at times. And you're on, you and a lot of other people, but we're talking about him. So all that stuff is what he's doing. It's working, and he's got the Fertitas and Dana really close to him quickly. So that's interesting to me, that they're doing this extra stuff with him, and they're making it obvious, the preferential treatment. Usually you're not supposed to make it that obvious that you're doing all this extra for people. That's a little weird to me and unprofessional. Just like the article that came out and was talking about how he was getting paid, and
75 and 75, man, for your fourth fight or something. That's a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So, but if he keeps producing, I mean, they're wanting to hit that international switch, and I think they've blown it up in Ireland, and they found somebody that, I mean, he's good. He's good. So I'm curious to see what happens when he gets higher up and gets that title shot. A lot of things change once you're in the main event for a title.
Right, and I think that everybody's just at the prove it point with him. Yep. And I will fully jump on the bandwagon once he proves it. Yeah. And, I guess it's easy to do at that point. But, I'll jump on the bandwagon because I like the theatrics behind him. I like someone who's going to talk trash. Yep. And that, I love it when people try to sell a fight, but you have to have the goods to back that up. And there's still that little bit of question mark behind whether he has the goods or not. So.
True. So that was the big talk of UFC 178. That should have been the main event. We're going to talk about what happened with the main event later. That should have been the main event.
Hold on. Let me take another nap.
Right. Hold on. And we're back. That was, though. I mean, we'll get into that. We'll get into the freaking adrenaline dump of the main event of 178. But anyway, what was also a great Fox Sports 1 main event was the return of Dominick Cruz. Holy shit. Me and you were even talking about maybe we just need to take a 2 or 3 year layoff and come back and then be a murderer. Dominick Cruz mauls Takeya Mizugaki, who everybody knows is no slouch. No. I mean, nobody saw this coming. In under a minute, and now he's number 2. He came in ranked number 10, which is weird, because he only lost 1 fight. And then
we thought it was going to be 5. Yeah, he was going to go up to 5.
Yeah, went back to number 2 and was going to get the next title shot at TJ Dillashaw. That was his belt. He never officially lost it in the fight. He lost it due to just inactivity. But Dominick Cruz just comes out and just gets it done in 48 seconds, 46 seconds, and we just watched the bobblehead Mizugaki up against the, arm trapped, up against the cage, just taking 20 unanswered shots. And I loved Cruz's answer when he said, when somebody asked him, was that a little bit too late of a stoppage? And he's like, I just liked hitting something. I don't care. I've been waiting to hit something. I got a lot of pent-up aggression, and that's scary, man. Yeah. That's scary. His footwork looked good still. I don't know, man. He looked pretty good to me. So,
and when you start, moving forward and thinking about him, fighting somebody like Dillashaw, like that is that's one that I would love to be there for. Like that. I mean, just and especially the Dillashaw that we've seen in his last few fights, and if we get that Dillashaw going up against this, murderer, like I mean. Oh, it's gonna be incredible.
And as everybody in the MMA world we listen to each other, we watch each other, we read each other's stuff. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how Dillashaw actually watched and learned some of the footwork of Cruz for him. So now he's gonna fight Cruz. You're going to fight the person that you were modeling your new winning strategies off of. That's going to clash. That's going to be ridiculous. I mean, that has potential to be like fight of the year. I don't want to hype it up too much because then I feel like when we do that, something's going to happen. But, man, if that goes down and everything is how it's supposed to be, that, like you said, being there live would be amazing.
Oh, my God. And then when you think about that, like there's so many people who just want to discredit MMA as being, you just go out there and fight someone. And it's so much more than that. So much more. And, you have 2 fighters who, beyond the backstory, just like you said, you got one fighter who patented his new abilities after the person he's going to end up facing. And when you have, 2 fighters who are identical, what happens? Is there going to be the sort of dull stalemate that could happen when you got people that's doing, when you're fighting yourself in the mirror? Yep. Or is it going to be, ridiculously explosive? And I'm kind of leaning towards that side.
I'm leaning towards ridiculously explosive, too, especially out of tear these guys have been on. So, very excited. Awesome way to lead into the pay-per-view that night. And that was just, it was just a fantastic card minus the main event. We'll go back real quick to our last high kick, and then we'll go back to the low kick. We're just kind of bouncing around today. So we're going to give our last high kick, the highest kick of the week, to Invicta FC coming to the Quad Cities. Yes. Huge. They are coming here on November 1st. First time they've ever been anywhere other than Kansas City. Barb Honchak is the main event. MFS fighter, we all know her. She's putting her flyweight title against the line versus Takeyo Hashi. Man, I know that I interviewed Shannon a couple months ago, and she was saying that, I asked her, are you guys ever going to leave Kansas City? Are you looking to expand? And she said, absolutely. I did not think they were expanding to the Quad Cities. Right. But that's ridiculous. I keep saying I don't think the Quad Cities really appreciates or knows how big of an event this is. I feel like it's decently equivalent to the UFC coming to iWireless. Like Invicta FC is growing. It's the biggest all-women's organization. They just teamed up with UFC to be streamed on UFC Fight Pass. Half their fighters are either champions in the UFC, or not half, but some of their fighters that they brought up are champions in the UFC, or contenders, or half of the tough 20 cast right now. It's just amazing. I'm so excited that they're coming.
Yeah, it just says a lot for the brand that they're able to expand and, you know, thinking outside of just, you know, being a fan and being in the Quad Cities, you know, just thinking of their brand and they're expanding. And that's one thing that I'm, you know, really happy to see because, you know, I've been a fan and you know, I've watched their stuff on Fight Pass, and it's one of the great benefits of having that service is to be able to catch all their pay-per-views. And, you know, you just, I sort of got introduced and, you know, invigorated into women's MMA through not this current season of Ultimate Fighter, but the one before when they first had the women on there. And a lot of those ladies I didn't really know. And, you know, even though they had been around for a long time, and that's what I figured out, you know, as it went on, was that, you know, it's not like these are all new people. No. It's not like these people just came out of nowhere. Like, they've been around forever. Like, even though, you know, everybody on that show has been fighting for a long time. Right. Nobody was new. Nobody had just started. And, you know, it sort of got me invigorated into and excited about, you know, women's MMA. So, you know, I started doing the research and watching some of the old Invicta, you know, stuff. And, you know, you'll be able to see that growth, you know, again. And you're seeing it now with the current season of the Ultimate Fighter. And you're seeing fighters there who are, you know, in Invicta. And just to see how they're, you know, growing the sport and further legitimizing the sport through women's MMA is great. And just to have something like that coming to, you know, our neck of the woods, we'll be all over it.
Yeah, get ready.
We'll be all over it. If you don't like us, you don't like me filling up your feed, unfollow me. Get rid of me
unfriend and follow, and just turn your phones off because it's going to be everywhere. Sorry,
everywhere.
Sorry, that's what we're going to do. Yeah. I mean, that's what we need to do though, because and that's what we want to do before. Get your tickets. I mean, do what you need to do to get to that show. If you love MMA, we've been wanting to see a live Invicta forever because these women come out to fight and they do it on a different level. Like, I don't know, man. There's a different switch they pull that sometimes we don't have or something, man. They just brawl and it's clean and I mean, that's amazing.
And to think about flipping that switch, we got to talk about Barb and, you know, somebody who we personally know. And just to see someone like her, this is, you know, the first time Invicta has gone out of Kansas City. You know, it's in her hometown, where she lives, where she trains. I'm really happy for her, and for her to have an opportunity to, you know, on the biggest stage that Invicta has had so far. You have to say it. This is their biggest event so far. So, man, if you're in the area, if you're anywhere within a 3-4 hour radius of the Quad Cities, you got to be here for that. If you call yourself an MMA fan, you have to be here for this. Right. And, you know, big shout out to all the people who pulled strings and did different things to make it happen. Mike Gunnar. But yeah, big shout out to everybody for making that happen, and to have an opportunity like that in the Quad Cities. Man, and if you're in the Quad Cities, you have no excuse. No excuse not to be here for this.
Yeah, because I mean, if you stream it at home, you're going to be streaming it from up the hill when you could have got tickets and went down the hill to go watch it. And
your $10 a month subscription to Fight Pass, you could have used that $10 to put in your car to get gas money to go to the RiverCenter and see it in person.
Right.
Fights are so much better in person.
Yes. So we will end our high kick extravaganza. Pause for a second so we can get a little somber for our low kick. Our low kicks of the week. There's a couple of them. The main one from the main event of UFC 178 was, you know, Demetrius Johnson versus Chris Cariaso. Johnson won in the second round. He still has his belt. Yeah, I don't know. Everybody was saying too, Conor McGregor Poirier should have been the main event. Oh, are you back?
Yeah,
you're back.
Sorry.
Yeah,
fell asleep again.
I feel like we're back watching it too.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this fight was so slow. Like, I felt bad that I was still here at your house watching it because you wanted to go to sleep. I was like, we gotta watch the main event, right? I don't know. I can leave. Like, it was that. I mean,
you have to watch the main event. If it's a pay-per-view, you got to watch the whole event. You got to see the whole thing. But
I didn't care going in. I didn't care during. I don't know. And that doesn't take anything away from Demetrius Johnson or Chris Cariaso. I mean, they both are awesome fighters in their own respect. They just shouldn't be fighting each other on the main event of a pay-per-view that was like had a stacked card, and like, you can't do that to us. You can't have us bouncing up and down, screaming and yelling, and then the main event comes, and like, people are falling asleep. I'm going to get another plate of snacks and whatever, and like, that's just ridiculous. Also, too, you know what? Who though? I get it though, because who's gonna fight Demetrius Johnson right now? I don't know even. I don't know if it's Ian McCall again. I don't know. Their division is so small right now. The flyweight division. It's new. It's small. You're just kind of rotating people, and I don't know what they can do to revamp. You know, Demetrius Johnson is improving each fight. He's coming off of Benavidez knockout, or not coming off, but started pretty much the year off with that. I think this was his 4th fight of the year. You know, he had a back and forth fight with it was John Moraga too, main event. So he's not fighting slouches. It's just there's nobody really left for him. He's kind of run through the division already, and that's scary to see because their division just started. Yeah. So, you know, Chris Cariaso, we all knew he wasn't gonna win this. I don't know even if he thought he was gonna win this, and so, you know, I don't know what you do at this point with the division or Demetrius Johnson. I don't know if you need to be recruiting internationally too and bringing in some fresh faces that are big stars in their area, and then you bring him over, you know, kind of like the Conor McGregor. Nobody knew who he was 2 years ago or a year ago. Brought him over, now he's going to fight for the title soon. That's what they probably need to do with the flyweights, is just find some crazy 10-0 flyweight from wherever, England, Japan, you know, and
I mean, if you're in that flyweight weight class and you're an aspiring fighter, like, you have to sort of feel good if you think you have the goods, because it's so open right now, and it's open to the degree that we're talking about local fighters. Not national level fighters, but local level fighters can move up the ranks pretty quickly.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There's an opportunity that's sitting right there for you. So, you know, if you're in that weight class, get in the gym, you know, get going, and you can work your way up. You know, a year and a half from now, you can be there. You can be on a pay-per-view, and you know, all of this doesn't. You know, we're not trying to take anything away from Demetrius, because he's a beast, and part of the reason why the division is so lackluster is because he's been running through everybody. So, you know, maybe the division isn't that bad. It's just that he's that good. But I would love to see him get challenged. I'd love to see him, you know, run up against somebody who's going to legitimately have a chance to beat him.
Right. Yeah. So that's the main talk of the town this week, is just that lackluster, like you said, main event and what we're going to do. And there was also one other fight that we're going to give the low kick to, that I'm really surprised to give the low kick to. The Eddie Alvarez debut versus Cowboy, and pretty much we're giving the low kick to Eddie Alvarez. He was one of the few people that I was really excited that was left to come in from another organization. God, it was like a soap opera watching what they were going to do with him, and his, you know, was the UFC going to offer and counter offer the Bellator and blah, blah, blah. And he was killing people in Bellator. The Chandler, you know, trilogy was ridiculous, awesome. You know, I think they got Fight of the Year over all of the organizations a couple years ago. So then he comes in and he gets the Cowboy Cerrone, you know, Donald Cerrone, for his first fight, which is like, oh, okay, like, just throwing him to the wolves, but not really, because it's Eddie Alvarez. So you're like, that's okay. And it looked like he was thrown to the wolves. He was slow. He was tired. He looked small. And that was just like, it was weird to watch. And Cowboy, you know, he even says too, he starts off slow, and then he gradually warms up, and then he just chops your legs off, literally, and you can't stand up, which is what ended up happening. He just chopped him down to where eventually he fell. And I think the only thing was the controversy this week too, is why didn't he have him stand back up and knock him out? He went to the ground with him, and Cowboy even said, I was tired, I'm done. I mean, he had won the fight at that point, so he just kind of grinds out. Which is scary, though, because then on the ground, the last minute, Alvarez is a wrestler. He could have done something, too. But interesting to see what they're going to do with Alvarez now. I don't know what you do with him. I mean, obviously, he's going to fight again. who do you give him? It's going to be a smaller name, you know. So that sucks because Alvarez could have been a big drawing power or star for that. So,
and you know that the UFC had to make a sizable investment in him to get him to to the brand. So yeah, but you don't want to have your debut after all the sort of hype, all the drama, and to come out like you said slow and small. Like it was just about as bad as you could you could think it would be. And I don't think that the difference in the highest level of talent between the UFC and Bellator is really that different.
No.
There's the highest level of each of those is a really high level. So to see him come in against somebody who, like you said, isn't a slouch and is on a pretty impressive win streak of his own, and Cowboy, and to see him, like you said, get chopped down and look, like a lower level amateur fighter, it's kind of sad to see, but maybe there was something going on. Maybe there was something behind the scenes that we don't know about, or it could be anything, and we don't really get all of that inside information all the time. So definitely want to see what he's going to do in the future. It's not one of those fighters that I would just want to cast off and say, I'm done, I don't want to see him anymore. But he's definitely going to have to come out and show something next go around, or else his stay in the UFC probably isn't going to be that long.
Exactly. And also leading into somebody who is not going to be around the UFC anymore for at least a year is Cung Le, and this was a last-minute addition to the low kick. Cung Le is suspended for 1 year because he was surprise on PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, HGH. He got caught. Obviously, if you look at the side-by-side pictures, that picture was what really sealed the deal for
the one where he was like this.
Where he was just jacked and his veins were popping out of his eyeballs. And Michael Bisping was like, I'd like to have him checked because I believe he is on something. And he was. And he's denying it, saying, I don't know. I read the article too and why he's denying it. And, there's whatever, dude. You got caught. Eventually he'll come. That's what you're supposed to do, right? At first you deny it, and then you just eventually come forward. I don't know. That's the story of getting caught with, performance enhancing drugs. So too bad, because Cung Le was really fun to watch. I liked his style. It was different than everybody else. And he looked like a very nice guy. I mean, he's still a nice guy. Whatever. He's just on performance enhancing drugs. Doesn't say he's not a nice guy. But it just sucks that we're still talking about PEDs. We're still talking about HGH, and I'm glad it wasn't testosterone replacement, because I'm sick of saying those three letters together, TRT. So it's actually HGH. Right. But that just sucks, man. That's definitely a low kick for everybody in the organization, that we just still keep having to talk about these fighters getting popped. Right. I mean, I don't know, man. Figure out how to be on your drug, then to cycle off of it, or don't do it at all, or I don't even know. Stop doing it during fight time.
I love sports. I watch so many different sports that it's ridiculous. But I'm a huge fan of NFL, and whenever I hear about players in the NFL testing positive for PEDs or track, it's usually rampant in track and field sports. But whenever they have a specialist on there, or somebody talking about it, they always say the same thing. They always say that the drugs that these guys take are literally years ahead of the testing, the ways that they go about testing nowadays. And that it takes an idiot to mess it up where you get caught.
I mean, you can leave it at that. I mean, that's what I said. Exactly.
I'm no way. I don't want anyone taking it. I'm not endorsing it at all. I don't want people to go out and, I don't want athletes to take them. But if we ever got a list of all the athletes that were taking it, we would be shocked, because almost all the athletes who are special in their sports are in some way taking performance enhancing drugs.
Agreed.
And it's especially in a sport like fighting, there's a decided advantage that you get from doing that. And even if you're not taking it to the point where you're trying to get big, a lot of the guys in the bigger sports out, like NBA, a lot of those guys, they use those drugs, but they aren't using them to get bigger. They just help them recover faster because their sport is more frequent, so they have to be ready the next day, or they're doing 3 games in 4 nights or something like that. Or in the NFL, you got something going on every week, and that would be probably the equivalent of an MMA fight every week, for those guys in the NFL, and you're doing that 16 weeks in a row at the least. So I can understand why these guys do it, but there has to be a better way for them to either totally clean it out the sport, get rid of all of it, or these guys have got to figure out a better way of avoiding these tests. Because most of these guys pay in the thousands of dollars to get these drugs. They aren't just doing it without supervision. They have doctors who follow behind them and make sure that they're taking the right amounts and doing these things so that they don't get caught. And these guys who end up getting caught are really just the idiots of the bunch.
Yeah, and that's your career.
Crazy.
I mean, where he's at now too. This is Cung Lee's career. He's 42, I think. Mm-hmm. He's suspended for a year. Mm-hmm. We're gonna forget about him in a year, and then he's gonna come back, and I don't know. He wasn't really even doing much right now. No. So this is probably close to being it. Mm-hmm. So. Mm-hmm. That's what happened, and that's unfortunate. We're going to see probably more people, like you said, unless they do something, we're just going to keep talking about people getting popped.
And he's like the poster child for doing it, too. Like someone who's at the end of their career, trying to hang on, trying to hold on. Somebody like a Chael Sonnen, too, at the end of their career, trying to hang on with the younger guys, and you sort of resort to doing this. And if you're going to do it, don't get caught, because once you get caught, you get blackballed, and nobody wants to get, kicked out of the sport or go out the sport that way.
Right.
Or at least you wouldn't think you would.
Right. Exactly. That's our low kick, and it kind of goes, I like how our bull kick just stays in with us ranting and talking about things. Our favorite segment is the bull kick. That's some bull kick. We got such a good one this week, and it's been the talk of the town MMA community too this week. Joel Romero versus Tim Kennedy. That fight, which is now called Stoolgate, which is awesome. Like I like when stuff happens. It's just whatever gate, like Stoolgate. Romero gets the controversial win in the 3rd round, knocking out Tim Kennedy. Tim Kennedy has to get face surgery now too. So he's injured, literally injured for quite a while, because he has to get, I felt like I read, almost reconstructive surgery of his, orbital bone because of that beating he got at the end of the round, or the beginning of the 3rd round. What was everybody's talking about Stoolgate is that between the 2nd and 3rd round, Joel Romero did not get up off of his stool for an extra 30 seconds, where John McCartney and McCarthy was yelling for him to get up. Tim Kennedy's like, get up. We've never seen that before, where if you can't answer the bell and you're not ready, you can't fight. The fight's called off. So a lot of controversy right now with the referee of why when he didn't answer in the first couple of seconds, why he didn't call it. Just a lot going around. And for 30 seconds, 36 seconds or some extra seconds, and that's another piece of the bit. Does that make a difference in the fight? And I'm on the side that it absolutely does.
That was the first question I asked, because we were watching it, and the first question I asked was does that really matter? And you said it definitely does.
I feel like it does, because if you have done any sort of athletics, running, fighting, basketball, just imagine getting a minute to rest your breathing, and then getting 30 more seconds to even bring your heart rate even lower. You can do a lot in 30 seconds, and that's what he was doing. And it worked, and then he went out and won. And he was damn near knocked out. Yes. 5 more seconds, he was cold knocked out. Yeah, and so he's coming off of that. And so obviously that would be the time to take your 30 seconds. And maybe he wasn't able to answer the bell because he was pretty much knocked out. So then you don't have the 3rd round. There's a lot of controversy. We're not going to be able to see an immediate rematch because of the surgery and the suspensions, the medical suspensions that everybody gets, and which were rampant in UFC 178. So it just sucks because it was so obvious what was going on, and it just felt shady. I mean, and I don't know, the referees, it all felt shady. Like they want Yoel Romero to win, and I did too. I had him winning. He's a more exciting fighter than Tim Kennedy. Right now, he's just that explosive guy that you want to market more, and I feel like
he looks the part.
Yes.
He looks the part 100%. He looks like that person that you should be terrified of.
And
and I mean, he showed it at the end, of course. I'm gonna slightly disagree. I don't think that. Okay, first, I don't blame Romero for this at all, even though it might have been 100% concocted by him. I don't blame him at all. This is all on McCarthy, all on him, because it's his fight. He has to be there to enforce the rules. If you aren't doing your job and you allow someone to sit like that and get that extra breather, you are officially taking everything that happens after that point on you.
Yeah.
And it's on you. It's your fault. So if Kenny would have come out and win, no harm, no foul. But since Romero comes out and almost immediately starts to beast and gets the win, it looks bad. It looks like you're either cheating or you're inept at your job.
Yep.
So those are definitely bull kick worthy. And you hate when fights sort of have that sort of tinge of controversy in them. Right. Everybody wants a clean decision. Everybody wants to see someone get knocked out, or it needs to be decisive. But when you have something like that, it sort of muddies the waters. Everybody feels like there could be this and this happening, when in all actuality, if you just looked at it straight down the line, you have to just look at it and say, McCarthy, it's your fault. You should have gotten him out his stool, or even called the fight. Even
Romero's corner would take more blame than that fighter. If I'm the fighter and I'm sitting there and nobody's telling me anything, I can't say I wouldn't sit there too for an extra 30 seconds and just be like, hey, what's going on? Like, what's going on, but you're not being forced to fight, so like, whatever, I'll take it.
And it's something that you see a lot of in boxing. Like, you see that a lot. Like, there's a lot of times in boxing where the fight is the round is over. Everybody goes back. They're getting, they're recovering in their corners, and then the cornermen do certain things. And that's one thing I like about the UFC, is that the cornermen are neutral, because everybody gets the same cornerman. But in boxing, you have people who are for you, helping you out. So like, your cut man, everybody who's greasing you up between the rounds, they're all for you. So in boxing, you'll find a lot of times they'll add like excessive amounts of Vaseline to their face, or they'll spill a bottle of water in the corner. And when those things happen, they'll send you back and say, oh, that's too much Vaseline in your face. Go wipe it off. So this guy will come up to him, he'll wipe his face off a little bit, give him extra 10 seconds. Or, there's too much water in this corner, go clean it up. So their corner get over there and they'll scramble with towels and stuff and look like they're cleaning it up. When all that stuff is done on purpose. Like, that never happens on accident. Ever.
Right.
Ever. And that was one thing that I learned in boxing, but I never really thought about in the UFC until Stoolgate happened. Yep. And then I figured it out. I was like, oh, okay, well, there are some ways that you can sort of pull a little bit of gamesmanship in the UFC too.
Yep. And it worked for him, and he's going to be able to go on and fight, and Tim Kennedy will definitely it's not over. I mean, it's put on halt for right now. He'll get better, and I have a feeling that rematch will happen. It'll just be later than sooner. So we'll all get to see really what happens. And that was a back and forth fight. I mean, it was a good fight. So that rematch, anything could happen. So that is the bull kick, though.
Can we give a slight bull kick? Maybe I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to give a slight bull kick to Romero for his post-fight stuff that he was saying in half English, half Spanish. Like, if you could give a bull kick that was like kind of a funny bull kick, not like an angry bull kick, this is like the funny bull kick.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what are you talking about?
We were having fun with making fun of it that night. Just saying anything to get the crowd going. Who here likes Cheetos? Like, who here likes fights? Like, you just anything.
People, I love you. Like, what are you doing?
No.
What are you doing?
And I loved how Joe Rogan was like, that you didn't answer my question once again. what do you specifically think about what you just did?
Right.
And then he would still say, like, I love America, I love Jesus. Like, okay, no, once again, like, what? That was bad.
Let's reel it in a little bit.
That was bad too, and it was like he was apologetic. He knew he had done something had gone wrong, so he was trying to get that crowd back. But just acknowledge it, like you said. At that point, he could acknowledge, "Hey, I'm the fighter. I have my corner, and I have the referee, and I'm a third party in that." So that would have been a more honest answer.
Yep.
Like, I didn't get it, I don't know. But then you had to take accountability too. Like, dude, you heard. Let's go. Stand up off your stool.
Yep.
And you didn't stand up either, so you did play a part in it. But yeah, like, we can bull kick that for sure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, whatever. If we get some controversial emails about us hating whatever. If you go watch it and tell me that you weren't thinking the same thing too, it was ridiculous. Yeah. So yes, good bull kick this week. Yes. I love it. Yeah. We're going to finish off just with some previews of next week. Like we said earlier, fight week. We've got Cage Aggression 14 coming up. A ginormous card. We're going to be commentating that night like we always do. 20 fights, 10 amateur, 10 professional, like 6 title fights. All the title fights. I think all the titles are on the line.
Everything.
Everybody that's
amateur and pro titles, all on the line.
All on the line. Everybody that's anything, is... I don't not anybody who's anything is on that card, but everybody's on this card, so you've got to have some fighter that you love. They're on this card, Anthony Nachi, Eric Showtime Shelton, Brant Cooper, everybody from. We could just list off
Glenn Anderson, Jeremy Anderson. Like, there's just so many fighters that are who we've all come to. To love just watching, throughout the times that we've been able to do commentary for Cage Aggression. And this is just one of those things that goes to show you how far the Cage Aggression brand has come, that you can put on this one day, fights. And it's 100% like UFC style. Like, everybody goes to the UFC. Like, if you go to a pay-per-view or a UFC pay-per-view, you don't just show up for the pay-per-view card. Yeah, you could do that, but it wouldn't be smart because you have the Facebook fights on. You have the Fox Sports prelims, and that's sort of what this reminds me of a lot. And I know that Mike Goodwin, the Cage Aggression president, was sort of saying the same thing, in that you pay your ticket price, and you can come and just see your guy fight if you want to, but you're gonna miss out on so much more.
Right.
I'm praying for our voices right now. I'm gonna be getting a lot of honey lemon. I got cough drops already in my bag packed, because there's gonna be a lot of talking. So by the end we might be whispering, but I'm sure it's gonna be a great night of fight. Oh yeah. Go back. It was the very first Cage Aggression at the RiverCenter, and we did a post show and couldn't talk.
Nope. It's done. Voices were done. Make sure to get your tickets if you haven't got them. Go to Cage Aggression on Facebook, Mike Goodwin. Hit us up on our Facebook, our accounts on the Kick and Makeup Facebook page.
I think they're on Ticketmaster too.
Ticketmaster,
sure.
Right?
CageTix.com,
I believe. And then the website for Cage Aggression is CageAggressionMMA.com. Just Google Cage Aggression, and it'll get you to their main page. Get your tickets. Seriously, you've got 10 amateur fights, 10 professional. You've just got fights from 5:30 to damn near midnight. Right. And if you're a fight fan, it's a long night of fights, but it can be a great night of fights. Yeah. It will be a great night of fights. So make sure you get that. We're going to have some updates the next time about some of the winners, some other things going on in the sport, in the world of UFC, and get you all the info like we usually do. So yeah, that's it, man. That was a good show.
Good show.
That's it. We Kick and Make Up, www.kickandmakeup.com. Get there, add yourself in. We'll get you right in. At Kick and Make Up is yours, and the show at Hybrid MMA is mine. At Twitter, Instagram.
Yes.
What else, man? I don't know.
Instagram, YouTube.
We need a plane, like a plane that flies over the Quad Cities with the Kick and Make Up banner. That's the banner.
Everything, motion. Everywhere. We're everywhere. Just look for Kick and Make Up. You can Google search us. We'll show up there. Yeah, we're we're everywhere. So make sure you come and check it out. And if you like the show, or if you got feedback, good or bad, if you don't like something that I said or that Nick said, or you really like something that we said, you know, respond to us or send something out there. We love to get feedback. It was really cool. Like the last Cage Aggression that we had, there was a ton of people there, and just to, you know, interact with fans and interact with people, like
Right.
That's what we live for. That's the fun part of the job. So if you can, we're going to ask you to do that. So holla at us.
Jeremy, J.D. Dorsey, American Hybrid Nick Cunningham. That is a wrap for Kick and Make Up. Remember, don't solve it in the streets. Take it to the cage and kick and make up.